Hello, hello. So I have no slides, so I don't need the little clicker. So it was 1 year ago today, actually at this moment, that I was laying on a surgical table having a 5 centimeter brain tumor removed. It was sitting on my motor skill strip and just in front of the speech pathways. I was then, after that, I was transferred to neuro ICU, where I'd spend 24 hours into the next day, during which my heart went into AFib, and I also had uncontrollable vomiting. That all brought some fear to my neurosurgeon, who thought that I'd have speech impediments and motor skill function issues for the next few months afterwards. Fortunately, I only had issues for about a day or two following my surgery. I went home 72 hours after. We got to that place of having the brain surgery because 4 weeks prior to that, after a wonderful day at home with my wife and going for a nice 7-mile walk in Marin County back in San Francisco where we live, I was sitting on the couch and she was cooking dinner, and my arms came up by my side like this. And I turned to her to try to yell, and it was like that bad dream. If you've ever had a bad dream and you try to yell out in the dream and you can't yell because your body's not letting you, it was like that. I couldn't get anything out. It felt like minutes to me, but in reality it was probably only a second or two when you actually look at the kind of time frame. My next memory was about 30 to 45 minutes later. I was sitting in the back of an ambulance with a medic talking loudly to me, trying to get me out of the state that I was in, and my wife was sobbing. I'd find out that I had a grand mal seizure while I was sitting at home because of the brain tumor caused my brain to kind of short circuit. On the way to the hospital, I started complaining of not being able to move my shoulders and not being able to move my hands. My shoulders were throbbing and all throughout my arms, and I could only move my hands. So it was like my arms were on my legs and I could only lift at my hands. When I got to the hospital, I had a second grand mal seizure while waiting the doctors to come in. That got them to move a little faster. And then I posted an update on Facebook, just kind of standard stuff, right? Like we all do. I said, well, this isn't how I expected the weekend to end, and added the location of the hospital. I wrote a book on Facebook, I guess it's normal. But they would end up finding out after doing multiple scans and things deep into the night that I had dislocated, what they thought was I had severely dislocated my shoulders, both of them. We wouldn't find out for a couple days later, after they did several more scans and they tried a number of things that weren't working, that I had actually shattered my shoulders. Every bit of my shoulders were gone. That following weekend, I'd have, within a 72-hour period of time, I'd have 2 surgeries on both my shoulders to rebuild them. They had to use donor bone in both shoulders. They had to use Kevlar, what they call anchors. They're essentially bolts, these small bolts, all throughout both shoulders, and fiber wire to kind of stitch back together my shoulders. And I also had to have 2 screws put into my left shoulder to not only rebuild the shoulder, but also my left bicep, which I had torn during those seizures. What they think happened was that my shoulders dislocated backwards when the seizure started, that I fought it instead of flailing. I didn't fall or anything like that, like a lot of people seem to think, but that my shoulders dislocated backwards, and then the force of the dislocation actually caused the shoulders to break, causing all of this kind of additional stuff that happened. I'd remain in the hospital for 12 days during that period of time, trying to heal and trying to await brain surgery. They kept thinking that if they could schedule it correctly, I could go from having the surgery on my shoulders to going right into the brain surgery. But they ended up finding out or realizing that I need to recover more from the shoulder surgeries so that my body could handle the brain surgery. So that's what kind of created this 4-week delay. When I got home, I was on so much pain medication and other meds that my mother-in-law and my wife had to kind of keep this 24-hour schedule. They would wake me up 3 times a night, and they would stay up all throughout the night. My mother-in-law would take like a 12:15 shift. My wife would take the 3:15 shift. My mother-in-law would take the 7 a.m. shift. And so on and so forth. And when I say I was on a lot of pain meds, name any pain medication, I was on it in probably 2 different forms of it at the time, a long-term and a short-term version. And so this went on. immediately after getting home, before the brain surgery, I started 16 weeks of physical therapy. First 4 weeks were passive, right? So they would take me out of my slings, my arms would hang down, they would physically move my arms. I couldn't do anything. I'd lost 45 pounds of muscle over that period of time. My muscles completely atrophied. So not like you lose muscle mass, yeah, you don't have biceps or something like that. No, like my scapula, the skin was stretched over my scapula because I had lost everything that was there to move my arms in any way. So this went on, and throughout physical therapy, it was excruciating pain because they're trying to move your arms, they're trying to move your shoulders in ways, trying to rebuild and reteach you how to use your shoulders. So this went on until the brain surgery. I went in for my brain surgery, came back home 72 hours later, and had to start to now relearn some other things too, right? So as this whole period of time went on, a few things happened. One, I learned how much your family means to you, right? My family was there, and my friends and everybody else were there. A few of them are sitting right here, and I'm purposely not looking at them so I don't tear up or anything during it, or so I can't see one of them cry, who has someone sitting next to her that she told me last night she's gonna cry on. So I'm avoiding them. And your friends and your community and all these people that are around you to support you that you take for granted, frankly, throughout the process. 2 months after my brain surgery, I was sitting at home, and because I was off of work for about 9 weeks, and I was really frustrated by all this and wasn't gonna take sitting at home as an excuse for anything. So I signed up for a Spartan Race the following July. So this is October, November of last year, so it was July of this year, just 2 months ago. And a Spartan Race, for those that don't know what it is, it's an obstacle course race consisting of anywhere from 3 to 26 miles, just depending on which one of the races you sign up for. And the race I signed up for was from 3 to 5 miles and 20 obstacles that are rope climb. It includes rope climbing, wall climbs anywhere from 3 feet to 8 feet, medicine ball slams, Hercules hoists, all sorts of things like that. And what its intent is to test your endurance, your strength, your grit. And so I signed up for that as a way to prove to myself and to everyone else that my shoulders would be back to full function and strength by the time I got to July. Now granted, the first week that I was in the hospital, my orthopedic surgeon came in and told me I would never, ever be able to lift weights again. My mother-in-law, my wife were sitting right there. Fitness and weightlifting were a passion of mine. It's something I do. It's part of who I am. And I was told that exact statement: you will never be able to lift weights again because of the damage done to my shoulders. I don't listen that well to things like that. So I was determined to get back to that, to somewheres around there, right? Even if it was through body weights, even if I couldn't go lift physical pounds anymore, I couldn't go bench press or do things with dumbbells, I was determined to get back to some form of where I was pre-seizures. So throughout this entire experience, I learned a few things about life that I wanted to kind of pass on to you guys and hopefully send you away with. One, prioritize health and fitness. No matter what you do in your life, it should be small steps. Don't go on some kind of crash diet that's unsustainable, or just try to lose 5 pounds or something like that. Make small changes in your life. Drink more water, or take the stairs instead of using the escalators today. Don't park in the closest parking spot. Park a few rows away. These small steps will add up to make big differences. Nowadays, there's so many different fitness classes and fitness groups and ways to get in shape that you don't have to do just cardio or just weights type thing. You don't have to be a runner or a weightlifter. You can try CrossFit. You can try rucking, which my friend Cece loves and has gotten me and Shell into, which is just having weight in your backpack and going for distance. You can do Orange Theory Fitness. You can do any number of things, stadium workouts, high intensity cardio. You can find something that you're passionate about and love to get in better shape and to make healthier decisions. For me, they don't think that I would have recovered the way that I have if it wasn't for fitness. Because as some people know, but not everyone here, I am also on chemo. So about 3 months after my first after the brain surgery, I had a third grand mal seizure at home. And essentially, they call it a breakthrough seizure in medical terms, but essentially what it was the brain rewiring itself, figuring out how to operate again. And during that period of time, we were making a decision if I would go on chemo, radiation, a combo of chemo and radiation, or do nothing. And we were watching, we had decided that we'd just watch, right? Do nothing. We always had these in our back pocket if we needed them. I have to get MRIs every 6 weeks to see what's going on, make sure everything's cool. And so we decided that we'd do nothing. Once that third seizure hit, we made a decision to go on chemo. So actually just last night, while I was here and I was out with some friends, I finished up my 7th round of chemo. And now I have 5 more rounds until I finish up in February or March of next year. So it's 12 rounds of chemo. So my doctors didn't, and still didn't, don't think that I would be where I am today if it was not for a passion for fitness and health. In fact, my neuro-oncologist was pretty shocked when, after the first round of chemo, I went for a visit with her, and she asked how I was feeling and everything. I said, oh, I worked out 4 of the 5 days last week that I was on chemo. And she looked at me in horror and wondered why. So, have a passion for fitness. Like I said, do these little things. You don't have to walk out of here and decide, I'm gonna join a gym and I'm gonna go 7 days a week, I'm gonna work out 2 times a day and I'm gonna do all this. Make smarter choices in your life because it will have an impact. You never know when this sort of thing can happen. I never expected it. And all of my friends and family who, look to me for fitness advice or that I talk to about fitness or things like that, never expected it. Number 2, prioritize your relationships and invest in them. Your family, most importantly, your spouse, take care of them, spend time with them. If you're going out to dinner with them, leave the damn device face down or in your car off or at home or something of that nature. There's nothing more important that you need to be on your phone while you're trying to have dinner with your spouse. And guys, there's a decent number of guys, buy flowers just because. You don't have to wait for Valentine's Day or something like that. Just buy flowers on your way home because those people in your life matter and your immediate family matters. My mother-in-law, my in-laws live in Connecticut, we live in California, like I mentioned. They flew out to, as soon as the seizures happened, my mother-in-law, or my wife called my in-laws. Again, this was about 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock on the West Coast, so it was 12, 1 o'clock on the East Coast, crying and sobbing and telling them what happened. My mother-in-law was on the first flight out of Hartford and was in California by 9 a.m. the next day and then lived with us for 7 weeks to be a full-time caregiver to me. That matters a lot. So prioritize and invest in your relationships with your spouse and your family. Invest in your time with your friends. So I've been fortunate and I have an honor to call many great individuals my friends. Many of the people you see speaking here today, or the people that you might read online and things like that, they're good friends of mine, and they jumped in immediately. We had actually received so many flowers at the hospital that the nurse and staff had to help us find new spots and would often comment that they had never seen someone get so many flowers. My work drove up, our shipping staff actually drove up packages that had shown up at work, drove an hour to come deliver them to us because we had received so many. So invest in your community, online and offline, and in your colleagues. Go out for that drink that they want to go out for. Joke around in your office. Take it a little more lighthearted, or don't worry so much about email. And then lastly, be determined and stay focused. If there's something that you want in your personal or your professional life, if it's a personal goal or professional goal that you have, stay focused on it. If you want it bad enough, you'll figure out a way to accomplish it. I was told that first week that I would never lift weights again. And I finished my Spartan race in July. I subsequently had a meeting in August with my orthopedic surgeon when he said, I never thought I'd say this, but I'm removing all restrictions from you. You can do whatever you want. I said, great, I ran a Spartan race last month. Stay focused and determined on anything that you want to achieve. Don't let anyone stand in your way. I'm often told that, I could never do what you've done, or, some take on that. I look up to and I'm inspired. I would be crawled, around a toilet. I would have never had the ability to get up and things like that. And I refuse to believe that. I firmly, deeply believe that everyone in this room and everyone else is built unstoppable, whether they realize it or not. Thank you, guys.